Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Grandma. Today I'm going to be making for you smothered pork chops. I got this recipe online on the Food Network channel. This is Tyler Florence's smothered pork chops. They're really super easy and quick meal. That's what you want on a weekday night. So you take you first of all, on a plate you put 1 cup of flour, and to that you add some onion powder, garlic powder, cayenne, salt, and pepper. Now, these spices are what the recipe calls for. You can use, if you don't like onion powder, omit it. You don't like garlic powder, use extra onion powder. I didn't have garlic powder in my cupboard today, so I used a little bit of Italian seasoning. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it might change up the flavor just a touch, but it's only a teaspoon, so it's not going to make that much difference. So you want your nice big pork chops, and you pat them dry. First of all, you take a cup of flour and you put it on a plate, and I have it right here like this. Let me show you. There you go. And you mix the spices in and stir them in with a fork. Then you take your pork chop, pat it dry real good with a paper towel, and you coat it on all sides with the flour and spice mixture. And you want your skillet heating up with some oil, and you want it pretty hot before you put it in. And the one tip here is to put all the pork chops in at the same time, because it's only a second or two between getting one covered and another covered, but you cook them at a certain time, and they have to all cook at the same time to be done at the same time. So after you coat them both sides with all the nice seasoned up flour, you could just use salt, pepper, and that's all if you don't want to do anything else. There's other things in here that has the smothered effect of it. So there, it's nice, and my skillet is nice and hot, but not as hot as it should be. It's not sizzling. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit higher. And once that starts to sizzle, you cook them for 3 minutes on each side. I'm going to wash my hands after touching the raw meat. We're going to save this flour. This is going to come in handy a bit later to thicken our sauce. We're not going to use all of it, just a little bit. And it calls for buttermilk. Now, I don't buy buttermilk. I don't have any use for it. I've only had a few recipes ever that I've ever used it for. And then you have a quart of buttermilk, and if you don't like the taste of it, then it's just gonna go bad. So to make your own buttermilk, you take, now in this case it's a half a cup of milk that the recipe calls for, half a cup of buttermilk. So you put a half a cup of milk, and you put 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and you let it sit. And you see how thick that is? That's pretty thick milk. That's not your average. That's like a cream. So that's how you make a substitution for buttermilk. We're going to use that and a cup of chicken stock in a little while, after these pork chops cook a little bit. They cook for 3 minutes on each side, and then we take them out and put them on a plate, and then make the sauce, and then put them back in. And for this, I shouldn't be banging like that. I should have these all ready. And then to do this, to serve with these, I'm going to make my twice baked potatoes. I've done that on other videos. You bake a potato in the microwave, even, it's fine. Bake it for whatever, 7-8 minutes, however, it depends on the size of the potato, and cut it in half. Scoop out the insides, mash it up a little bit in a bowl with some butter, salt, and pepper. Put them back in the shells, in the potato skins. Top it with a piece of cheese. You can use either brick cheese or sliced cheese, it doesn't matter. Crisscross it. Put them back in the microwave and heat them up for about a minute until the cheese melts. And there you have it, twice baked potatoes. So we're just going to let these guys hang in the pot here and cook. I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes, and now it's sizzling, so it's good temperature. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just get my potatoes ready. I'm going to go over and get them and wash them and put them on a plate and get them baking. Because the pork chops will take, let's see here. It doesn't say, oh, well, 31 minutes. So prep time is 15 minutes. Total time is 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do my potatoes because they'll take about 10 or 12 minutes to cook the first time. Then I have to take them out and do the little adding to it. I made twice baked potatoes in one of my other videos, but they're really good. I might even fry up some bacon and use crumbled bacon on top of them too. Make it like a, what do you call it? Well, now, here's a word for it. I'll get it. So I will be back in a minute. I'm just going to get my potatoes. Alright, so I've got my potatoes. I washed them, and you give them each one of them a little poke with the tip of a knife or a fork, because when you cook them in the microwave, if you don't poke them, they probably will explode. Food's cooked from the inside out in the microwave. So I'm going to put these in the microwave for 10 minutes, and while our pork chops are cooking, then I will show you what I do with the potatoes. Okay, and the word I was looking for before was loaded baked potatoes. That's when, you know, you put a little bit of everything besides just some butter and sour cream. I'll do the bacon and fry up some bacon and crumble. You can use the bacon bits that you can buy at the store. I just happen to have fresh bacon in the fridge, so I'll use that. Cut it up, throw it in the frying pan, it takes a couple of minutes. So these guys have got just about 1 minute left to go. And I'm going to turn them, and they're thicker than, no, it says 3/4 inch thick. Well, bone in, it's about that, maybe, so I guess 3 minutes is enough. And then, because they're going to finish cooking when you put them back in the pan after they're done this way. Because after they cook this way a little bit, we're going to make our little sauce and then put them back in and let them cook for a few more minutes. So I'm just waiting for my timer to go off, and we're going to flip those nice great big pork chops. And one of my little tips that I remember I just told you about the making the buttermilk, you got that. I made a video of hints and tips and just kind of go over the basics of what you should have in your pantry, my last video. If you have any questions about anything, leave it in the comments. I check my comments almost every day, and I'd be very glad to respond to you. I can respond back in the comments, or you can leave an email address and I will email you. It doesn't matter. If you want a copy of any of the recipes, they're there in the description, but I can also email you a copy. That is not a problem. I am willing to share all my recipes with anybody that would like them. My style of cooking is homey, comfort food, on a budget, you know, easy peasy, don't take 6 hours and don't take half your paycheck to make. So anybody wants anything they would like to see me make, just let me know and I'll get to it. And keep those subscriptions coming and the likes and the views, and so that would be awesome. So now that is just counting down. It's got a few seconds to go. So I'm going to go overhead and turn my pork chops. Oh, look at how nice and golden brown. There's the butter. Look at how golden brown and crispy that is. Oh, that looks so good. And it's fried, so it's not as healthy as, you know, they would be baked, but, you know, once in a while, it's okay to have something like this. So after they've cooked for the 3 minutes, we're going to remove them from the pan and add a little bit of the sprinkle of the seasoned flour to the pan drippings, and pour in the chicken broth. Then we're going to let the liquid cook down for a few minutes, reduce and thicken, and then we're going to stir the buttermilk in to make a creamy gravy and return the pork chops, covering them until they're cooked through. So, like the recipe said, it's about 30 minutes from start to finish, or 30 minutes cooking time, and it says 18 minutes, 15 minutes prep time, 31 minutes total time. So that's 15 minutes to prep and another 15 minutes or so to cook. And now, depending on your thickness of your chops, if they're a little bit thinner, they'll cook obviously a little quicker, and if they're thicker, they're gonna, you know, a lot of chefs these days say it's okay to have pink with pork. No, I can't do it. I've been taught right from the get-go that chicken's got to be white inside and pork's got to be white inside. No rare pork. Can't do it. It was drilled in my head when I was learning how to cook as a child, and even in school when I took cooking classes, you know. So now they say it's okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cook mine all the way through. So we're just going to give those their 2 minutes, and we'll take them out of the pan and do the rest of the steps and get the potatoes. I'm going to get my bacon out and get it frying, so it'll be done when the potatoes are done, so I can crumble it. So I'm just going to put you on pause for a minute and come right back after this is done. Okay, so now we're back. I took my pork chops out of the pan. They look so good, so nice and brown. Look at how nice that is. They are going to have to cook some more because obviously they're not done all the way through yet. They're big thick chop, but they're nice and golden brown on both sides. Now to my pan dripping, I'm going to add some. It doesn't say how much, so I'm just going to sprinkle in a couple of tablespoons, and hopefully that won't be too much because we're adding liquid, so it'll be okay. So you sprinkle a little sprinkle of the seasoned flour in the pan drippings, mix the flour into the fat to dissolve it, and then pour in the chicken broth. So it's just about dissolved. So now we're going to pour in our chicken broth. It's 1 cup of chicken broth. And that goes in. Give that a good stir. And all the little bits from the pork chops and the drippings are all mixed in very nicely. It's all scraping away off the bottom of the pan where it's stuck a little bit, and you're getting all that nice pan drippings and juices, and that's going to make the gravy so good. So, okay, so then we have to let the liquid cook down for about 5 minutes to reduce and thicken slightly. It may or may not take 5 minutes. It depends on how big your skillet is and how hot it is. And this is already thickening up, so it's only going to take a couple minutes. I'm going to turn it down just a little. I don't want it to go so fast that everything burns. So you stir it until you can see that it's not thick yet, but it's getting thicker. So you stir that, and it reduces and it thickens slightly. You don't want it to get real thick. And you can see there, you see how it's already thickening up? You can see how that looks. There's the difference between just the broth. So I'm gonna reduce that heat a bit more. Just a little, it's boiling a little bit too much. I'm gonna turn that right down. So when that is nice and thick, we're gonna stir the buttermilk in to make a creamy gravy, and then return the pork chops to the pan and covering them with the sauce. And then we simmer until the pork chops are covered. So in goes our homemade buttermilk. And you see how nice and creamy that looks. So that goes in. You're going to give it a good stir. And now I'm going to put the pork chops back in. And give them a good rub on both sides to get them good and coated. Because it's not deep enough to cover them all the way. So I'm just going to do this. And we're going to turn them every couple of minutes just to make sure everything's nice and soaked in. These are very big pork chops. There's only 3 in a package, but that's okay because I know Brody and I will split one, and then my son and husband will have the other one. So we're going to turn that heat down. I don't want it to boil. I just want it to cook a little bit nice. So I got it down. I got my electric skillet down to 200, and we're going to leave that sit until it says 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'll check to see how the doneness of the pork chops is, and then we can just decide if we're going to add a little more time, because they're very thick pork chops, so we might have to have a little bit more time. So my potatoes are done. for the first part. I'm going to just go ahead and go over the steps in case you missed the video of the twice baked potatoes. You bake the potatoes, cut them in half. Now I'm holding it onto the pot holder because it is still really hot. You scoop out the potato out of the shell. You want to keep the shell. You're going to put the filling back in there. So you want to don't put a hole in it if you can help it. And there you got a nice big boat for your potatoes to go back in. It's pretty easy. Cut them in half, scoop it out, mash them up with butter and salt and pepper, and put them back in, and cook them for another couple of minutes until the cheese melts. And I had the cheese out, and I thought, oh, why did I have cheese out? I'm not using cheese today, and I put it back in the fridge because, yeah, I am using cheese. Now sometimes they're not quite all the way, you know, you stab them with a fork, and it feels like they're done. But you get a little bit of a you know, little area that's not quite done, but it's okay because they're going to cook for another couple of minutes. I'm just going to take a knife and run them all the way around. I was using a spoon, but I think it's easier, and then it just pops right out. You just take a knife and go all the way around your edge of your potato skin. And I fried up my bacon, so I'm going to put, when I put these back in, when I serve them on the melted cheese, I'll top them with bacon and sour cream. And they're going to be yummy. I mean, everything's good with cheese, no matter what you make. If your kids won't eat vegetables, put cheese sauce on it. There you go. Boom, problem solved. My kids, fortunately, were never picky eaters, and my grandsons aren't. The one is a little, but not horribly so. I mean, there's so many vegetables out there. If you don't like one, that's okay, because there's a ton of other ones that you can have. See, my shell broke a little bit. We're just going to stick it back up there. And when you get the filling in, it'll hold it together. Not a big deal. You know, you don't need to stress over if a little mishap in the kitchen. I mean, if you burn something and you ruin your supper, well, you can get a little bit stressed. Then you got to go to plan B real quick. But, I mean, something like this, if the potato skin breaks, then if you're cooking 4 potatoes, this is going to give you 8 because you're halving it. So you have 1 less. So you just add a little more filling to the person that doesn't get 2 halves. That's all. Or give it to one of the kids because they're usually only going to eat half. They're not going to eat a whole potato. Grown-ups, on the other hand, will probably. So there's my empty skin. So now to my potatoes that are in the bowl. They're just right here. I'm going to put in a good helping teaspoon of butter and some salt and pepper. And I don't know why that pot is boiling so hard that it's turned way down low, and it's still cooking at crazy speed. I'm just going to give you a quick peek at look what the pork chops look like. Look at those, gorgeous. How lovely they look with that nice big thick sauce. And every so often I've been taking the spoon and just going over top of them. Instead of flipping them, I'm just going over top like this just to keep them coated. It tastes really, really good too. So now we're going to take our potatoes and I'm just going to kind of break it up. You can use a mixer if you want, and potato masher. I'm just going to take a fork because they are done for the most part, and I'm just going to mush them up. And you don't want them mushed like, you don't want mashed potatoes, you want smashed potatoes. A little difference. You want a little bit of chunks because then it just fills it up better. You don't need them, you don't want them real smooth and creamy like you did if you were serving mashed potatoes. So there, that is all there is to that. So now I'm going to fill my shells, my potato shells back in. Just take a tablespoon of the filling and fit it in. I do a tablespoon to start with and then fill them all in because I don't want to run short and have to take some out. So there it is full. And you know, you can always add to it if there's a little extra. But it's about a tablespoon of filling back in each half a potato sleeve. And then the baked potatoes in the microwave are really good. The only drawback is that the skins don't get as crispy as if you do it in the oven, but that's okay, because when you have the cheese and you have the bacon and you have the sour cream, everything all melted together, it tastes good. It tastes really good. So here, see, this is easy. This is twice baked potatoes. This is all there is to it. It's like bake them for like 10-12 minutes depending on the size of your potatoes. Cut them in half, scoop out the potato, mash it up, put it back into the potatoes, and cover them with some cheese slices or brick cheese, whichever your preference is, and bacon if you have it, which I'm going to use today. And there, it was exactly a tablespoon for each one, and I did 5 potatoes. Did I really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I did 5 potatoes because we all like them and we usually have extra. So I'm going to move this bowl aside and get my cheese out. I am going to use the sliced cheese, or fake cheese as we like to call it. That if we can see a little better. There we go. And you just cut your cheese or break it in strips, and you crisscross it on the potato. Well, it didn't break very well, did it? So you can put it like this and then crisscross. You can put them any way you really want to. You don't have to crisscross them. That's just the way I've always done it. That's the way my mom did it. Make an X with your cheese, just like that. And you know, if the pieces break, then you just stick them on there. There's no right or wrong way, nothing. It's not an exact science, as long as you get the cheese on there, and then when you pop them back in the microwave and they melt nice and creamy for you. Now I'm kind of breaking this cheese a little thicker, so it's covering the whole potato just with one piece, but that's all right. We can still add more to make it nice and super cheesy. And I will melt the cheese down on the potatoes, and then I will add my bacon on top of that, on top of the melted cheese, so it'll kind of just like blend right in. I was debating whether to put the bacon in with the potatoes first and then do the cheese, but I think I'll just go ahead with this idea. There, and it took like 1, 2, 3, 4 slices of cheese. You know, fake cheese. Not real. So they say. But it's so good. And when it melts down, it's so yummy. And a little bit extra protein, as the kids are getting when they're eating their cheese. There. And we got all of our potatoes just like that. Quick and easy. And I'll put these back in the microwave for like 2-3 minutes. Until the cheese melts. And we're going to take a look at our pork chops here. I'm going to go ahead and take one out and cut it and see how done it is. And see if I need to cook them a little bit longer. I'm pretty sure they're all done. See, this guy looks like they're all about the same thickness, so let me see how that looks. I'm going to move my camera up here and then put the plate right in front so you can see it. And there we go. There, perfect. And there is the smothered pork chop. So I'm going to cut it. And it's nice and creamy. And there, you see? It's nice and white inside. That's what you want. This side is a little bit pink yet. I'm going to put it back in the stove for a few minutes more. But I don't like pink. I'm going to cook it so it's all white. So that, I'm going to get my potatoes out and show you what they look like. Let these guys sit in their little gravy bath for another couple of minutes. But basically, that's what they look like. All nice and smothered with that lovely gravy. And that is what is for supper tonight. Smothered pork chops by Tyler Florence and Grandma, and twice baked potatoes. And there are my potatoes. The cheese is all melted on them. And then I already had fried up my bacon while I was doing some other things, so I'll crumble that up on top of the cheese, just like this. Little pieces, because this isn't little store-bought bacon bits. You have to kind of break it yourself. Depends on how big a chunks you want. Big or small, doesn't. Again, there's no right or wrong. You can do it whatever you want. Don't put bacon on. Put bacon on. I'm just adding this because it looks good, and I had some on hand. And just put it on there, and the cheese will keep it down because it's melted. And my dog's right here sniffing. He thinks, yeah, just make sure you drop a piece of that now, because that smells real good. Right, Spencer? That smells real good. Okay, I'm going to unplug my frying pan as it's boiling again. Cover it and keep it nice and warm. Supper will be in 20 minutes. It'll stay warm until then. So I'm going to put one on the plate here. And like that. And wipe this mess off my plate, just like the professionals do. And you watch all these baking shows on television and you see how the chefs do it. And let's get one that's going to stand up properly. And there we go. So this is your finished product. This is what is for supper tonight. Twice baked potatoes, loaded baked potatoes because it has the bacon, and the smothered pork chop. And there we go. That's what's for supper tonight. That's the pork chop that I cut in half, so it does look a little smaller than it was originally. I'll get the other piece out there. There we go. And if I put another potato on the plate, because we're all going to have two pieces, there it is. That is what's for supper tonight. Smothered pork chops and twice baked potatoes with bacon. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Please leave a like or comment what you'd like to see or what you'd like me to make. And I will be sure to check on my comment section and get back to you on that. And if I can do it, I will. I have a lot of baking ingredients in my pantry, and if I don't have them, I can get them. And yeah, I can make whatever you all want to see. So you all have a really great day and enjoy your smothered pork chops and baked potatoes. Bye now.